How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Legions Lounge. I'm your producer, Matt, joined by your host, Taylor. How's it going tonight?
That's going pretty good. I don't know when this one's airing, but either way, it's going to be going live on a Monday morning or Monday afternoon. So either you're catching this at on your morning commute, or at lunch, or on your drive home, or cleaning the house, or taking care of the kids, or whatever it is that everyone does on Mondays. But it's always great to have your attention and get a chance to talk the game and talk to members of the community. And speaking of so, we have one of our newer members of the community. Not as new as others, but he's becoming a seasoned veteran pretty quickly. But
They,
a huge fan ambassador for Legions on the East Coast of the United States. Case, how's it going, man?
Hey, it's going good. It's really great to be on. So thanks for having me on tonight.
hey, no worries. Sorry for the long wait. Always a long list of people.
No,
Yeah,
I got you for sure.
just working through we knew we were going to get a good healthy turnout from the community that all wanted to be part of the podcast and help and spread the word, and
Oh,
we
100%.
just we did not expect the sign up list to get as long as it did. So we're working it through. It's hard when you're trying to juggle and balance everyone's work schedules, trying to find time to record, and all of our episodes are pre-recorded, so we want to make sure that we get them in, give Matt time to edit them, and get them up and published. So I appreciate you working with us, Case, and helping us get through the list to get to you. And we've been really wanting to have you on because we got some good conversation to be had about having not only being our newest member for our newest store, but what it's like grassroots to be a player in an area where Legions wasn't previously, and getting into a game that no one around you has or no one around you has heard of, and that progress that you have made thus far, getting people on board, getting people to try it, getting a store to take it on. Walk us through that process. How is that inevitable grind?
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like a lot of it is just like the game is just naturally great, right? So, like, as Andrew said on previous podcasts, like, it's gonna sell itself. Like, if you just show it to people and they show their friends, like, that's gonna spread the word. And yeah, I've been facilitating running tournaments at Comic Fusion in Flemington, New Jersey. So we have not too big of a crowd right now, just like about like 5 to 7 people depending on the week. But everyone that I've talked to who's like I've showed the game to, I probably showed about like 15 to 20 people so far, like family members, even friends, friends of friends, and like all those people have all loved it. Like the game's done like really well. Like um, everyone's had like only positive things to say about it, and yeah, like even when I don't bring the game up, like my friends just message me. They're just like, "Hey, you want to play Legions?" Or like, "When's the next Legions tournament coming up?" And like these are like competitive players who play like Magic: The Gathering or like Yu-Gi-Oh or other games. So like the fact that they're like asking me like, "When's the next big event?" It means that like there's definitely like a competitive element to this game that people are like itching to get their hands on. So that's definitely a good sign. Yeah, I'd say it's been going really good.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear because we at the tail end of last year, we managed to we did our first three Siege Series events, which is our basically our store level championship kind of events. We host them, or we work with the stores to host it in store. We attended as a company. We attended all three of them. Two of them here in Canada and one in the United States. We drove down to Go Vault Games in Clarksville, Tennessee. So, it was a 10.5 hour drive for us, but it's well worth it to support the community, support the game store that's brought it in and has done all the hard work of building that community. So I know that New Jersey for us is about a 10-hour drive as well. So that's definitely doable. So I know that we want to work with you and the community there at Comic Fusion and the surrounding stores and stuff to be able to build up enough player base so we can get a Siege series out there on the East Coast and give those players that next level of competition that I know that you said they're itching for.
And so, just for anyone, just to give context, Case, where is your store located?
It's in Flemington, New Jersey. It's like halfway between like New York and Philadelphia, so like kind of like central North New Jersey.
Perfect. Yeah. So, what was it like? Just so first, how did you like hear about Legions?
So it was on the Kitchen Table TCG channel. It was like Louis, I think his name
Mm-hmm.
was. He was like just covering random games, and like I had missed out on like the kind of like initial like Flesh and Blood like hype and surge, but like I got into it, still had a good time, and like had a lot of fun, and like really the community like really picked up Flesh and Blood well. So I'm just like, well, maybe I can just like get in other games too, and like play these and like get to learn and enjoy playing a lot of like TCGs. So I started with Flesh and Blood first, and then like MetaZoo and Cryptic, and like I've played like probably like 10 or so like new like trading card games, and I just saw Legions on the podcast and thought it looked really cool, and unfortunately didn't really get a chance to play it until like just like a couple months ago. But yeah, I mean like I played it once though, and then like I caught the bug quickly, and just like I gotta like share this to like other people. This game's really good. So yeah, I was kind of collecting it for like a year. Like managed to pull like a lot of the chase cards. Luckily, like Twilight Gardens and like the
Jeez.
Magic Void Hall, I think it's called,
Yep.
or the other Exalted. But yeah, just never really got a chance to play it. Like there wasn't really the online league at the time, so I couldn't really play online. Which like I usually play games online, but I couldn't really. I guess maybe there was a tabletop simulator. I'm not really sure, but I never really got into that. But yeah, just played it recently. Just loved it and wanted to share it with the community.
That's awesome, man. So, like, so have you been playing TCGs for like a while, or is this like kind of like how old were you when you first started playing like TCGs? Or like how many years ago was it?
Oh yeah, it's been a while. Probably like 15 years now since I was
Oh,
like
okay.
pretty young. But yeah, um, my dad and I usually like go around to cities playing Magic, so like we've always had that connection, like playing in like Magic like Grand Prix, and like I've played on the Pro Tour like a few times too, so like I really like that like high level competition and like just competing and like meeting new people through gaming. So yeah, like I just wanted to like see what other games had in store for me in terms of like the same thing, and yeah, I think Legions could definitely like have that potential. I think it's a great game. Like I'd love to play it like in a competitive setting.
Exactly. No, it's amazing. I think like at least in my experience, whenever I've showed this game to someone, they love it, right? It's just it spreads like a wildfire and it's so good. So you are a Legion's ambassador. So how did you go about like the process?
Yeah, well, so the owner of Comic Fusion, like I've known him for several years, and like we're pretty close. So I told him about the game, like told him, hey, if you like run a tournament, they'll send you, all this like free stuff like decks and just like other stuff. I didn't know how much stuff was gonna be at the time. I didn't know it was gonna be like boxes and like promo cards and everything. I thought it was like just gonna be like a few decks, but yeah, no. I mean, yeah, the people at Legions are super generous with all the stuff. So I got like decks and promos and everything. And yeah, basically like anyone who didn't have a deck like just got to keep it. So people like right away were just like, well, I guess I can keep coming back because I have a deck to play with. And the decks were like fun, interactive. Like this is probably the best. Like I've played quite a few like welcome decks, and I think this is probably the best one that I can think of in terms of like getting people in the game, like showcasing what each faction can do. So like I just think people really were just like, okay, like understand like heroes like making my guys really big, or like demons like taking the opponent's stuff, you know, like it's not super complicated to get into. So like anyone can like pick it up, but then like there's a lot of like skill in terms of like because there's like a lot of like tutoring or like searching your deck
Mhm.
as opposed to like other games. So like I think people kind of like the fact that like they have more control over their decisions than like something like Magic, where like you know if you draw too many lands in a game, like you could just lose that way. So I think there's like definitely like a more of an element of control where knowing
Exactly.
your deck can really
And I,
reward you.
and I think something in that is right, like that there aren't like any like land or resource type cards. That's all on your side, right? With your health and your consume. I think that gives people
Right.
that more kind of control feel, as in, okay, I don't know, let's say you play Titans a lot, right?
I play sorry, what was that?
Titans, right? You play Titans?
Yeah, yeah, I play
Yeah,
Titans.
it's like Titans Tumble. Amazing card, but it's Bloodborne
Mhm.
10, if I'm correct.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it gives you that kind of aspect of like control, and that kind of creates a cost for a card, so it doesn't feel like it's just which card is better. It becomes a lot more of like a strategic game, because it's not just, oh, I got screwed by lands. That's where I ended the tournament, and you just kind of get swept out. It
Yeah.
feels much more strategic, in my opinion.
Well, it's one of the things we really wanted to focus on, I think, in development right from the very beginning, was that, you know, we, I think I've said this before, either in an interview or on this podcast, but, um, you know, you don't, sorry, you don't want to have, you don't want to be a Magic like game. And what I mean by that is you don't want to, you don't want to be a game that is so close to Magic that when people play it, they're just like, why am I not playing Magic? You know,
Exactly.
and it's it's difficult because much like there is in television or film, um, or even inventing something, like almost every idea has been done before, right? So it's like how you're not creating something brand new. You're trying to figure out how to mitigate the problems of other things, create something new in an essence of the way you do something or the way it functions. And that's really what we wanted to focus on with Legions, was that it, you know, the concept of the resource cards or resource management in terms of drawing it or being part of your deck is something that I think if you really look back or really ask somebody in Magic now, they probably wish they could go back and correct. But obviously, the game is established a long time now, and it is what it is and plays the way it does. So you can't really correct or change any of that now. But you know, I know that, you know, when Forcible came out 10 years ago, they pulled those resource cards and put them in a separate deck. And I know when Hearthstone came out, and you know, the gaining of one resource every turn. So it took away some of that RNG. There's always going to be a random number generator in cards. There's always going to be that luck factor. But ultimately, when people play a card game, they want to play their cards, right? And if you have something built into the game and its bare foundations that prevents you from playing cards, um, you know, that it's not really conducive to a fun game a lot of times, right? And it increases that element of chance to the point where you can just win or lose because of that. And so
Right.
when it came to designing mechanics and Legions, um, we really approached it. I mean, it's, after all, it's called Legions Realms at War. We really approached it with a war mentality of the fact
Yes.
that when you enter into a war, you're entering in full power. You're entering in with all your ammo, all of your defense, everything that you got. And over time, you you take damage. Over time, you exhaust resources, and over time, you get yourself closer and closer to a potential defeat or a potential win based on your strategic or tactical movements or your deployment of the resources that you have, right? So that's where we really wanted to focus on. When you come into a game of Legions, your warlord, your deck is at its full strength right from the very first turn,
Exactly.
and it's up to you as the player to manage those resources And that's why we really tied it into the warlord's health, because it comes down to is much like case you play Flesh and Blood, you know that being a hero centric game, um, Flesh and Blood's basic resource system very expertly designed, um, but ultimately you're also in the position where you're pitching cards to play other cards that you eventually will see later, maybe or maybe not, depending on how fast you go through your deck. And to me, I still think that's a great design, but I feel as though still an element of people want to play the cards that they have as opposed to using them as a resource. So that's where we wanted to pull the resource out of the concept of milling cards or pitching cards or using resource cards and attach it onto your warlord, since that's your main character anyways. And you get into a situation where when you fight, um, it's your strongest fighter, but also the source of your life.
Exactly, right? It's because if you don't
And
have
if you,
anyone to lead an army, you don't have an army.
yeah, you cut off the snake head of the snake, the body dies, right? So that's where
Exactly.
we really wanted to focus on that. When you go into a game, you want to play a powerful card, go ahead, but you're going to put yourself closer to death to try and gain an advantage. So is it really gaining you advantage, or is it putting you behind? Right, and that's where the element of strategy and decision making come in. That's I think where we really were able to harness that. I know that's so. This leads into a question for you, Case. How is that element, that feature, been able to um, impact new players getting on board? People who are coming from Magic and have to know a resource system, or coming from Flesh and Blood that requires a pitch system. How is this unique kind of resource system? Um, how has that gone over with the community, and what do people think of that overall?
Yeah, I think it's gone over like really well. Like, and I think you like said it perfectly there, Taylor. Like, people just like want to play their cards, you know? Like, people like, I mean, there's something to be said for variance in card games, and I think it's like a good thing too that anyone can beat anyone. Like, that's what keeps people who like don't play that much from coming back. Like, they're just like, well, maybe it's kind of like poker. Like, maybe I might be like an average player, but I might get pocket aces and my opponent will have 2 sevens, so I'll beat them, you know? So like, I think there's definitely like some merit to have like a variant system like that. But like in Magic, I feel like sometimes it can be too much. And like I think when you like draw your hand and then you can be like play anything you want, like that creates like some excitement, some like, huh, how do I sequence my cards? Like, and there's just so much like flexibility and like so many decision trees, like you were saying, the turn cycles, that like the only thing that really limits you is like what can my opponent have to stop me from doing what I want to be doing, and like um, what do I have to play around, and just how much life do I have to work with. So um, the fact that you can just basically have these really powerful turns, and then like after you do a turn, the opponent does something like just as flashy or like just as cool. Like I think that's a really cool like back and forth. Like I like the, maybe not everyone feels this way, but like personally, like I love like the swinginess of the turns. Like the fact that you can just do, basically it's like a giant free for all. It's kind of like playing like a legacy or vintage in Magic, like a really powerful turn. Whereas like in other games, it feels very limited, very just like you're playing by the rules, but it's like you want to do more cool stuff. But like this game allows you to do like really cool stuff, in my opinion, like much more so than like any other game that I can think of.
No, and I fully agree. And I really love how there are restrictions within that. So it's not just I summon 50 warriors, swing, you lose, because that's not fun. I like how there's like restrictions in the sense that, there are like purely only attacking cards, right? Like let's say unifieds, for example. Those are purely only on your turn, but then you have to have those, well, you don't have to, but there's that support system of the fortifieds, which I think just creates a very good kind of back and forth, like turn by turn kind of game. It makes things very interesting, like in such a good way. It's because it's okay. Now I'm gonna go all out, and they gotta see. Now I gotta see what they can do, and then they're gonna try and attack me, and now I gotta see what I can do. It creates a nice back and forth that honestly I love.
Yeah, like the game's like so interactive. Like it's really interesting. Like every matchup that I play with the welcome decks, even like just like the basic like out of the box decks, right? That like you'd expect to be like kind of just like honestly like if I was playing like any other game, I'd expect it to be like not that really good of gameplay, you know? Like they're kind of just like watered down usually, just like um bare bones play of like how the decks are supposed to be operated. But like in this game, like even the welcome decks have that like sort of feel like oh my god, I'm doing like really powerful things, but like at the same time, like you said, it's controlled. It's just like there's interaction, there's good counters to cards. Like anything that you do like can be countered and like has a cost. So like you have to like actually think about like how you sequence your cards. It's just like
Exactly. It's
it's not like you can just like win in one turn, or like maybe you can, but like it requires like
hey, it
smart
creates a
play and
really
like
nice
setup.
exchange, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's
Well,
honestly how I love something.
uh, I when I designed this and I worked with some of my early testers on this, this was a back and forth for a lot of the early and preliminary years of the game was that concept of trying to figure out the balance between too explosive and too dull, right? Like you said, when a lot of welcome decks and a lot of things, they're usually really good for getting your feet wet and being a watered down deck. But it's a lot of it. I always found in a lot of new games too, much like yourself playing them, Case, is this that it also it always devolved down to I play a card pass, my opponent plays a card pass, I play a card pass, right? And to me, I don't know. I maybe I approached it because of my background in television and film, but I approached it as the fact that when you walk into a movie or you're watching one at home, especially now with the ability to just stream anything, when you're watching it and you basically, I don't know about you, but when I watch something, I give the movie or the show 10, 15 minutes. And if it hasn't caught my attention, if it hasn't drawn me in, if I'm not attached to a character or really into that storyline, you tend to click off of it, right?
Hmm.
And you don't really come back to it. Um, so to me, that concept of the hook that like sinks in and gets you, that was so important when it came to designing the game. And I feel as though that first 10, 15, 20 minutes of a player's experience, that first impression means everything. And I think having the ability to have a big explosive move, um, or a crazy combination of cards, or you come across some random RNG that was in your favor, well then piloted properly or sequencing your cards properly, like you were saying, I think it gets into that moment of those like oh wow moments, those holy come check out this, look at what I just pulled off.
Hmm.
It's that almost that generates that same excitement of when you open a booster box and you hit a big chase card and all your friends are like, oh, right? And it's one of those moments in the game. And I really wanted to be like, oh, that was a crazy turn or that combo is crazy. Because when you go to a major tournament, like you said, you've been to pro tours and stuff for Magic. And when your round one is done, round two is done, you get quarters for the day. You're going into day two. When you're going back to the hotel or you're back in the car with your buddies driving home, what do you remember? You remember those moments where you're talking with your friends. Oh, in round two or round four, I did this, and oh, I put out this like crazy play and played this character and equipped him with this and did this combo and milled these cards, and like you recount those memorable moments and you share that with your friends. And to me, that is the lightning in a bottle. That is the essence of the game, right? Those memorable moments, those holy cow that happened moment. And I really wanted to design that and harness that as much as I possibly could in the first playthrough of a game. And that's why we focus so much attention on those starter decks to be able to do that right out of the box. Um, to not show you the power ceiling of the game, but show you enough explosiveness and enough draw enough to hook you that you wanted to crack some packs and you wanted to come back the next week and play with your friends and try to get another one of those crazy moments to happen.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And like, I feel like the game does a really good job of like hooking people in because like, for example, like the Mythical Beast deck, like when I played it and like the first time I played it, I didn't know like what I was doing. So like I'd play a card and I didn't really realize that like it says like if you have like a card called like Awakening the Mystic Fire Phoenix or something like that, it does something else. So then like I'm just like, well, I messed this up terribly. Like, let me try it again. You know, like there's a lot of interactions that really benefit if you like sequence correctly. So like when you mess up the first time, it like makes you want to keep going back because you're just like, what if I would have done this? Or like, what if I would have done that? You know, it's like one of those games where it's like it's easy to die, but then you like want to start over to like think about like what happens if I like make a different decision. So it's like it's really good about like hooking you in, I think, and like making you like question all your decision trees and like different lines of play. So yeah, I think it's like the complexity I think is really well done, even in like the most basic of decks. So yeah, I think the game's like super deep and has a lot of play to it for sure.
Well, and I think that was going off of what you said there. That was the key, and that's what I really wanted to see your interpretation and what the players in your area that kind of feedback is always not only is great to hear because we're open to both positive and and negative feedback, constructive criticism. We're very open and listen to the community and try to adjust and pivot and do a change, make changes where we can for sure. But it's always good to get that reinforcement of the fact that you know um, what gets new players on board, because ultimately I think, like you said before, and I know Matt is a prime candidate of this. He's been playing the game for over a year now. That once you get it on the table, once you play it, um, you tend to sink into it a little more, and you understand it more, and it brings you back, right?
Exactly.
And
No.
to me, as the new player, it's one to get someone to try it, which is challenging enough as it is, because, like you said, with the sheer amount of games out there, specifically in today's day and age, with the Kickstarter games and the massive surge of collectible and trading card games that we've seen in the past year to 2 years, um, getting someone to try it is already a challenge as it is, um, when so many games come and go. But I think the thing that is the most important part for new players is not getting them to try it the first time. It's getting the replayability out of it, right? Getting them to come back another time to play it. And that was my number one goal when designing it. Was we have awesome people like yourself, um, or like Jake is a fan ambassador, Andrew was a fan ambassador, right? People that got the game in front of people, got them to play it. But it's what is the game draw you enough to get you to come back and replay it? Because if it's enough to come back and replay it, then we that's how you build a player base, right?
No, exactly.
And then the community's there to nurture that going forward, right? So I guess then the question for you, Case, is from an ambassador going in, and what walk us through the steps with a store. Um, believe is Bill is the name at Comic Fusion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that walk us through that with the interaction with Bill and getting him to not only take a chance on the game and having us, contacting us, send stuff to him, but also to the point where he placed his first order with us. Like, walk us through that procedure.
Yeah, so Bill's like a really great guy, like he's just like trying to just make sure the community has like a safe space to play and everyone has like the games that they want. So like he's always been good about like letting people like have their like representation like in the community, like no matter what game it is, like basically even if it's like 3 4 people, like if they're interested and like they want to do like a tournament or like have a community there, like he'll let them do that. So yeah, I was just like well, if you do a tournament, like they'll send you like all this stuff. And yeah, he was basically just like, all right, well, why not? Like I'll send him an email. So yeah, he reached out to you guys, and then I think like a week later, maybe like 2 weeks later, I like told my friends, and even my stepdad and my dad came out for the first couple tournaments. And yeah, I think it really says how good the game is that like even like people like my stepdad or my dad who like mainly are like just play Magic, you know, like they don't really have time for like the new games, or really like they kind of like what they're like familiar with. And even they like have liked the game a lot and like given it high praise. So like I think someone who even someone who is like mostly into like older games, or just like kind of like plays casually, like even those kind of people can just like sit down with like a couple of friends and like play a game. Like I think the first tournament, like three out of the 7 people just wanted to play like multiplayer, and we are just like, that's cool, like you guys can play, and like we'll do like a 4-person tournament like against ourselves. And like so like even for the first one, there's like two different types of like people. There's like a casual crowd and like a competitive crowd, and like both of them really liked it. And like I have to add too that like the multiplayer aspect, like even just like the casual like kitchen table, just like for funsies, you know, like doesn't need anything. Like even that like level of play is really fun. Like I think the multiplayer aspect of this game is like really good. Like as good as like Commander, the most popular format in Magic, if not better. So I've really liked every every aspect of it. And like obviously like some people do too, because like they still ask me about it, and like they come and play on Wednesdays, and they really like the game and want to like compete at a high level. So yeah, I think the process has been like pretty straightforward, because a lot of people just really like the game and want to keep playing it. So I don't really have to do much to get them hooked, you know.
Well, exactly. And I mean, it's honestly just it's amazing. Like I found that there's such a like a difference in there's people that want to play super casually, and then there's people who want to play competitively, right? I find myself getting more on the competitive side, but it's this game supports all of it, and I think it's something that's just absolutely amazing.
I think caveating off that for sure, case like we've had some of our other stores. I know Curiosity Games and More in North Carolina. They played almost exclusively multiplayer, even during their weekly campaign events. They were doing like 4 people pods at each table. I mean, they had at one point up to 12 or 16 players, just playing like 4-player multiplayer games. And I know Lance, the store owner there, him and I have had a pretty good open line of communication. He even told me, he says, "Man, like the multiplayer aspect that you built into this game right off the get go has been really good at nurturing that casual let's play, sit down and play." And I mean, when you look at multiplayer aspects of other games, you use pretty high praise. You compared us to Magic's Commander, but like outside of Commander, is there really other games that have that multiplayer facet to it, that you can sit down with 4 people and jam some games and enjoy that time, right? In especially in the rush of new TCGs, you don't really have that. I mean, I know Flesh and Blood has Ultimate Pit Fight, but even that has some limitations, and some people prefer it, some people don't, right? So I know that was always a factor, and that's why we built into the game right from the very beginning. A lot of effects that were like target player or all players. We wanted to build in that verbiage into the game, in the card text and rule text, to try and make sure that multiplayer was always on the table, and there was always a facet that if people wanted to play casually multiplayer, that was always an option. And I know as we move along in our sets, we're going to have some releases down the road that are geared towards an official multiplayer format as well. Not necessarily to be competitive; it can be if the store or the players wish it to be, but to really encapsulate that commander crowd, to give them another game to play outside of necessarily just commander every week. Maybe we get enough recognition to do every other week. The guys come out and play Commander one week, and then Legion's multiplayer the next week. That's a dream to eventually be able to get to that point. But just to be talked about in that same category as Magic's commander, that's really high praise, and I really appreciate that. It goes to show that the effort and the work that we're putting in to really focus on being able to for the game to be played across platforms like that, across formats. It really goes to show that it's being recognized, and I appreciate that.
And so,
Yeah, for sure.
sorry, no. Speaking of future sets, Empires on the Rise is hopefully coming out soon. Right? The Kickstarter should be going live fairly shortly, or is already live. And how do you feel about that case? How do you feel about Empires?
Oh yeah, it looks awesome. Like I really like the depth and like the complexity of the game already, and the fact that there's going to be like like the same I guess you call them factions or realms, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like you get like the same faction, but like a completely different play style is like I think really cool. Like you can play either like for example like Titans, you could play like Prometheus, like this like kind of like go tall. It seems like kind of like aggressive deck, but you could play like Gaia, I think her name is, and just go like a really like. I mean, I could be like totally wrong here, but like it seems a lot more defensive than like
Oh, it's
Prometheus.
100%. It's gonna be like extremely control-y.
Yeah.
And of the new warlords, which ones are you looking forward to the most?
I
If you know.
mean, yeah, I haven't really taken a look at like all of them yet, but like probably Gaia just because like I usually play Titans, so like I want to like switch it up, like the same cards, like eradicating cards, but like a
Mm-hmm.
different play style. So like maybe like she won't be like my main after like a couple weeks of trying it out, but like I just want to like try it out and see how a different play style like suits my needs, or like just see if I like playing that hero or not.
No, 100%. I mean, from what I've seen of you play, you feel like a very much like an aggro kind of player.
Yeah, that's right.
I feel you would very much enjoy Castiel, like the new angel.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll have to take a
Because
look at the heroes again because like I kind
yeah,
of forgot what some of them did.
hey, no worries. So he basically works around holy counters and then burning your it's aggro effect damage while playing into the eradication zone.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah, it sounds like Prometheus kind of, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which
in the
is
same aspect like we wanted to do there, like Matt's referring to. I mean, Angels right now and Michael's uh, version of Angels, it's uh, it's very control based and using the holy counters as protection. Where we spun that on its head in Empires. So Castiel coming is the angel that uses holy counters for offensive. So he'll sacrifice holy counters to deal effect damage instead of using it to defend his own cards.
yeah, that's really cool how there's like different even in, like the same faction there's like different play styles. So like yeah, I'll definitely be checking that out for sure because like I always wanted to try out Angels. Like they looked interesting, but like I just like heard they're really grindy and like I don't really like grindy games, so like I just kind of avoided them. But with this Cassia hero, like I'll definitely be looking to at least check them out.
Castiel looks so cool. Some of the new angel artwork is just my absolute favorites in the set. They're they're so awesome.
Yeah, I love the art for this game. Like, I love like the full art. Like every card is full art, and like
Mm-hmm.
every card is like awesome art too. Like, I think the art for this game is like really phenomenal.
That's give credit where credit's due. I have a great art team that works their butts off, and they. I'm sure there's some days they're annoyed with me because constant communication with them, and every single art piece is a creation out of my head, right? So I am very, very meticulous with how I ask them to do art pieces. Every piece of art is 3, 4, 5 paragraph description of how I want it to look. They always send me 2 or 3 sketches of angles and perspectives and concept concept drawings and stuff first, and then I approve or deny different ones, and then we move on to the cell shading of it, and then from there I say, okay, I want a light source here, and I want this character to be doing this in this scene and stuff, and then we move on to color palettes, and I give them exactly the colors I want to be featured on this card. So it's a long, arduous process going card by card like that. But it's when I have a vision of the way I want the characters in the world to be presented, they've been accommodating and great with that, going through this step-by-step process to ultimately get the presentation and the way I want the cards to look.
No, exactly. And man, I'm so excited for Empires. Like the art on it's beautiful. I'm all the warlords look so cool. Like there's just so many neat things that are coming with it, and I think it's honestly really gonna spin the game in its entirety, like on its head in a sense.
Well,
Since
yeah, I
it's
think that our meta right now, or what we have in our competitive scene, I think overall it's been pretty healthy to this point. Um, having 8 legions, you you don't in any game you don't really want to see a weird pyramid of power where it's one deck is the top and that's it, or 2 decks battling it out. And I feel as though we have a pretty healthy, diverse game in terms of, there's 8 legions and 4 of them are doing really well right now, and you know the deck that's in 5 and 6 have a chance to jump in and shake the boat a little bit and get some surprise wins and stuff. And that's we feel as though 4 strong and 5 and 6 on the fringes out of 8 possible decks. I feel as though that's a pretty healthy game state, and
100%.
empires are going to come in and flip that all around. Angels are getting a really big boost, dwarves are getting a really big boost. Mythical beasts are getting a big boost. So it's going to start. It's going to shake up the competitive scene for sure, and it's going to give a new, fresh look, I think. And um, there's been more aggressive decks near the top right now, and Empires is bringing a large chunk of control to the game. But of course, we had to throw in a couple aggro decks in there. So dwarves are coming out of Empires at full aggressive deck. So it'll be interesting to see how that deck and the other control decks and stuff, like you mentioned already, Case, Gaia and her lockdown board control Titans, to see how diverse and how much that changes. But so far from what you've seen, Case, is there a particular play style or maybe particular card or combination of cards? What has been something that you really liked, or is there a specific card, a specific character? I don't know how much you've dived into that, but what do you feel in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't really follow like the lore like too much, but like, I really want to try like Gaia, because like all these unstoppable cards that didn't really see play, or like, I guess like a few of them did, but like it seemed like a lot of the cards, especially in like Ravage Lands, there seemed like some really good cards, but they all were like, if they're eradicated by an unstoppable effect. And I'm just like, well, the only unstoppable effect I have is my synergy, so I didn't really want to use too many of them. And like I've looked at like the deck list from tournaments, and it seemed like they weren't really seeing a lot of play either. So people kind of agreed with me, at least there. So like I think the fact that there's going to be like new heroes is going to like really like showcase a lot of the cards that seem like good cards from before, just like didn't see a lot of play. Like I know like the new the dwarf hero is like about like ale counters, and like like the grand ale house looked really cool from before, and like I just never got to play that card because like I didn't have enough like ale stuff in my deck. But like now there's gonna be like more support to the archetypes that like didn't really have a ton of support before. So like I think it's gonna really like improve the diversity of competitive play, which is like already, like you said, like very diverse. Like most games I play have like 2-3 top decks, like if that, and this game has like 4 and maybe even like 6 decks that can like all like stay at the top, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think that diversity is key, but like you were saying there, with the cards that in Ravage Lands that necessarily didn't see play as much, and like that's where I feel it gets overshadowed a lot. The when new games come out and they release a base set, that's where I think like Flesh and Blood did an excellent job with it. Whereas some other games maybe it wasn't necessarily their focus. Um, but what I really wanted to focus on with Legions was that Ravage Lands was a very big core set to start with at 260 cards, um, along with the starter decks that didn't have any reprints at all. So we launched the game with just over 400 cards. A lot of games don't really do that out the gate. So we felt as though Ravage Lands set a really good baseline, and it built a very strong foundation. And I'm a big fan. Like I said, I think it comes from my background of television and film, but I'm a really big fan of that laying the foundation of foreshadowing, or foreboding things. And so when we put in, like you said, a lot of those unstoppable cards or the alehouse cards and stuff, we put some of those pieces in early on to kind of show that we're laying foundations for future sets to build upon. And that's exactly what we're doing with Empires. I finished building Empires 6 years ago, and it has come a long way since then with a lot of tweaks, a lot of upgrades, a lot of set reconfiguration. But this set's been with me for a long time, and it was solely designed to build off of the foundation that Ravage Lands laid. So it's awesome that a new player like yourself into the community caught onto those things already, and noticed that it's like, hey, when Empires comes out and is in my hands, I get to go back into this box or my binder and pull out these cards that didn't see play, and now they are very much relevant.
No,
Right.
exactly. Like an example of that is the Ravage Lands Undead card. Nothing left but Putrid Plague. Man, I have it's such a cool card. That was the only card I was missing from like my Ravage Lands Undead set for so long. I think I opened like 2 or 3 boxes just trying to find that one rare, and I could, and it was so funny. But dusting off the old binder, finding some of the old stuff in the bulk box is going to be extremely fun. It's going to be a complex time to build.
So yeah, speaking of deck builds, that's something I wanted to ask Case about. Um, as a new player, I know that in any game, deck building can be a daunting task, whether it's card restrictions or ruling restrictions, or limitations on how many cards you can play, how many copies. How has been the deck building for a new player? I know you're a seasoned TCG player, but coming into Legions, have you found the deck building to be a challenge? Has it come almost or come easier to you? How has it been helping other people build decks? You wouldn't mind giving us some insight on that?
Yeah, so before before the deck database, I had a very hard time building decks because I just like didn't really know what was good and what wasn't. Like I just like threw basically like 50 or 60 cards together, but like it definitely wasn't a competitive deck. It was just like kind of just like an amalgamation of just like cards that I had. It was just like what I thought was cool basically. But then after you guys started like posting the deck lists and like the card database was huge because like I would see a deck list, but, like I wouldn't know like what any of those cards meant, like besides the starter cards, I'd be like looking at my starter deck and like, wait, do I have this card? Do I have this card? So like like control F and like look up certain cards and like see like what they do and like which faction they were like helped a ton because like otherwise I probably wouldn't even like have a competitive deck together. But yeah, that's really helped a lot. And I like the fact that there's like so many good cards, like you said, like every card's a purpose. Like usually the high power level cards have like a higher Bloodborne, so it's not like oh, this card's like straight up better than another card. I mean, like, well, maybe it is if it's like an exalted, but like, like then you can only play once, so there's still like a downside there. But there's so many variations of like cards you can try, and like there's only like 50, 60 cards in your main deck, so there isn't a ton of room really. So like it can be like fun to experiment with cards and be like trying to find the configuration. It's like not only like the best, but like also like the most synergistic or like the most powerful or like the most like interactive. It's like it's hard to really like pinpoint like the quote unquote best deck because like there's so many like categories. Like are you trying to be like interactive or like are you trying to like just do your thing as quickly as possible and like not even care what the opponent's doing? Like there's just like a lot of things to consider when building a deck, which I really like.
So you said like the card database helped you a lot, and that's courtesy of our very own Matt right here that went through and worked his butt off to not only work with my card galleries, but to do up the card database with effects and stuff to make it easier for new players like yourself to build. And I know obviously as us posting tournament deck lists and stuff from larger events are always a big help for new players coming in or competitive players who just want to go and see what the top decks are and go and hunt those cards down. But in like that aspect, like you're talking about, um, the all cards having a purpose, right? I think we mentioned it before on the podcast, but it's always been a major point to make the commons and uncommons some of the best and most utilized cards in the game, not only for ease for new players to get into, but just ease to find. I know you playing Magic. I'm sure you've had your trials and tribulations trying to hunt down, a guy's cradle or underground sea or these multiple copies of these expensive cards, right? um and not only finding them but then paying for them and stuff, right? Like ultimately TCGs are a hobby for people, and nobody buys it if they don't have the expendable income to do so. So we ultimately want to make the game playable and fun for everybody, so trying to make sure cards have um, are on our end printed and produced and packaged in a way that benefits the player. And then our community, I think, overall has done an excellent job at finding appropriate, secondary market um, price points and stuff, like stuff that's out of our hands. But I think for the most part, I think the community's done a pretty good job at appropriately pricing the individual cards for buy, sell, and trade. I don't know how you feel about that. Would you have do you have any input on that there, Case?
Yeah, I mean, I think the game's done a really good job of just making it like not only like accessible, but just like really affordable to get into. Like, you can buy you can just like split a starter deck with a friend for like, I don't know, like 20, 25 bucks. So like
Hmm.
for like 12 bucks each, you can like have a fully competitive deck. And then like if like you and your friend want to like split a couple boxes, that's like maybe 100 bucks each. You can like just give each other like half the factions is like one player, half the factions is the other player. So then like it's like right out of the gate, you can like for 120 bucks, you can build like a fully like not only just competitive, but like also like good deck. Like you can get most of the rares that you need, probably at least like one or two of like most of like the key rares that you need out of like Ravage Lands for like 100, like 100 bucks, which is like incredible. Like most games, like I know for Magic, like some of the legacy decks cost like thousands of dollars for just like a few cards alone, like just like a few of like the lands, like you said, like Underground Sea and Magic will be like almost $1,000. So like the fact that you can just buy a couple boxes and like maybe buy a few singles that you want and just a starter deck and just get to play like a really like you know fully fleshed out competitive deck is like awesome.
Oh no, 100%. And also like I feel that it's like because with empires, right? I forget the exact odds, but Taylor, what are the odds that you can like make a deck out of the out of a box of
Out of a
empires?
single box. That was our major thing. So we wanted to knowing that the starter decks were still available for everybody, but Empires being a great starting point for new players to jump right in if they're just entering or finding the game now. So with our reconfiguration of the box and moving the warlords to the rare slot, there's 42 rares in the set, and when you get 2 rares per pack, so you're plus there's 4 renowns per box, so they subtract. They find them their way into the rare slot. So
100%.
basically, an average box you get 32 rares when you open a booster box. So and when you only need 1 warlord, and you only need 1 Veil Realm card, we've upped the chances of building a box or building a deck, at least 1, if not 2 decks out of a box. 1 is up to, I think it's like 95 or 97% chance of building an entire deck out of 1 booster box, and could potentially be I think it's like 70. It worked out the math wise. I think it's like 78 to 80% chance of building 2 complete decks out of a booster box. So maybe not necessarily the Legion you were necessarily going for, but you should theoretically, if there's 42 rares in the set and you get 32 in a box, not counting your renowns, you're almost guaranteed to get at least every warlord, right?
Jeez.
And then the Veil Realms as well. So you have all of your essential pieces, because the synergies are also in the rare slot too, right? So the fact is that you will need 1 of each of those rares to play. So you're building, 1, 2, even a chance of 3 if you get really lucky, decks out of 1 box. And I know a lot of games don't really have that opportunity. So we really wanted to be able to give not only our existing players that opportunity right out of the box, but for new players who are just getting in or finding the game now.
Exactly. And I'm very excited. I feel like I have to get a new binder for Empires, man.
It is a bigger set. The box configuration's a little different than Ravaged Lands, but it's its baseline set total is 265 cards, where Ravaged Lands was 260. When you opened a box of Ravaged Lands, you opened 240 cards. When you open a box of Empires, you're opening 270.
Oh wow.
So it is, you do get more cards per box for a cheaper price than Ravaged Lands, and you are getting, like, pack configurations different now. So you're getting 8 commons per pack, 5 uncommons, and 2 rares. So in every pack. So there's a lot of possibility there, and of course, bigger set, and 265 is only its baseline. I mean, that doesn't count the fractured foils. That doesn't count the sketch foil cards, the countdown cards. That doesn't count the 16 second, or sorry, now it's more than that. It's more than 16 because we added the old warlords as well. So that's sorry, that doesn't count the 24 second edition cards that are coming in the set as well. Those are all added onto the original 265. So
Oh wow.
so I believe the actual total amount of cards available to be opened in Empires, I think now, if my math is correct, it's 316 cards that are technically able to be opened in the set. That's the base set, not counting the additional 3 Kickstarter exclusive promo cards that were actually hiding in the box as well. We have 3 new Bounty Hunter extended art Kickstarter exclusive rares that are being seeded into the boxes as well. So there's a lot to be found hidden inside these booster boxes.
So just so the audience knows, what do these bounty hunter cards persist of?
I don't want to give them away. Those cards will not be spoiled in our continued spoiler season. Those are going to be solely based on when people get their boxes and crack them open. I want to leave some stuff up to the imagination, and I'm actually really excited for when people see them. They are awesome cards to see. They're awesome cards to even use. They have some pretty unique effects given to just them, and they're going to be continuing. The bounty hunter cards will be something that's going to be continuing going on in future sets, but I'm really excited for people to be opening them, whether it's on a live stream or on camera, or they just open them at their homes, take a picture, and post them in the Discord. I'm excited to see what people's reactions are going to be to those.
No, exactly. I'm very excited. Like, I might have to crack open a couple on stream from the Kickstarter, but having them sitting there is going to be difficult. I'm excited.
Speaking of box breaks, Case, how many booster boxes of Legions have you opened thus far?
Oh, that's a good question. I kind of lost track. Maybe like 10. It's been a lot.
Wow.
Oh wow.
So I know that Comic Fusion was actually our last store to order a factory sealed case of Ravage Lands before it was sold out. So you guys, I know your store got the last case. So that they got 8 boxes there, and then I believe you bought a Louis bundle, didn't you not?
Yeah, I did. So, and I've gotten like a few boxes from Bill too. I think my friend and I split a box, and then I think I got 2 more, and someone else got 2 boxes. So I think we still have like a few boxes of Ravage Lands left. But I guess I'll leave those for other people because I want to, leave something for the rest of the people if they want to buy a box. But yeah, I've gotten a few of those boxes myself.
Have you got a chance to open any Bountiful Harvest or Frontiers yet?
Opened a bit of Frontiers and Bountiful Harvest, but I pulled a Saren Sada, so that was pretty sweet.
Ooh.
But with Frontiers, I haven't gotten like too much of it, so I don't think I have like any of like the really like chase cards from like no like Ophidian or like any of the Ophidian cards, but I have most of like Ravage Lands, so I feel like Frontiers is like probably like more of a support set, right? Like it seems like it's like a lot of reprints and cards that maybe aren't like as important to the decks. So it seems like I have like most of the staples, and then like maybe Frontiers like I might pick up the singles later, but as it stands like right now, I don't really have too much of that yet.
Yeah, that was Frontiers was is 181 card set. We did do 40 alt art reprints in the set from the starter decks. Some of the people really wanted the access to some of them, or wanted multiple copies of stuff, or people just love different artwork and beautiful looking cards, right? So we had some we did those. We had some erratas that we had to make some adjustments and stuff too. It's the growing pains of a new game and a growing player base, so we had to make some adjustments there, but that's why we printed them in the common slot so that they were available for everybody to swap out. But overall, yeah, there was 141 brand new cards in the set. But like you said, it's treated like a supplemental. It was to expand upon the core set of Ravage Lands, and yeah, no, Frontiers. I think Matt can attest to this. Frontiers had definitely had some meta changing cards.
Full of Dusksog.
And definitely it definitely bumped some decks up and shuffled the game around quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of toying with orcs back and forth. I was like, oh, I might play them. I don't know. They seem really complex because I've always seen Pat play them. And I'm like, damn, his lines are extremely complex. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to replicate that. Then Frontiers came out, and I'm like, okay, I have to now. I've loved it since.
Well, I know Chase or Case, you jumped in with the Titans right off the bat, and a very good choice. Being a guy who opened a large chunk of Ravage Lands, Titans were the game's first power deck. So you built a very good deck, being most of your collection coming from Ravage Lands. And they're still very prominent in the game right now. They didn't see a tremendous amount of support in Frontiers. They had some really key niche cards that helped them. But because they were the deck that was, the pseudo boogeyman, we made sure that Frontiers offered a lot to the other legions to rise up to the Titans occasion. So
Right, that seems like probably the correct move because like I've played Titans like quite a bit and they seem like really strong when everything comes together. So like I know like there's that new hate cards that like says like players can't eradicate cards in the new set. So like like even though I'm a Titans player, like I still think it's probably like go there's a card that can beat Titans because like when Titans goes off, especially with like um the banish 10 or eradicate 10 rather, and like give two things plus 10 attack with your hero and Saren Sada. That's just like really hard to stop. So hopefully that'll like keep Titans in check a little bit more. But I know it's been like some of my friends have like been like, what? That's legal? Like it's been a really busted deck at times. So definitely looking forward to seeing some other like strategies being able to compete.
yeah, and that's like I said, Titans right off the bat, they have the most tournament wins, but they rack those up early in the game, and since then, their wins are very sporadic, if at any now. So um, they always have a place in the meta. They always make appearance at bigger tournaments, but they definitely they definitely did not they're not sitting on the throne like they once did. So it's really cool to see that shake, and I think that's the my favorite part about new sets. Like I really love the actually my favorite part is realistically is seeing the reaction of people ripping open boxes of a new product like it's Christmas. Like that to me, that's the coolest thing. Um, Specifically is like I don't get a chance to sit back and enjoy it as much as I like to because it's always head down work on the next product. But when you get a chance to step back and be like and see people enjoy the stuff that you created and put so hard work into, it's kind of a really cool moment. And I appreciate everything that our community has done for us up to this point. And Case, you've been a big player in that. And like we said at the beginning of this podcast, I'd really, really like to be able to get to get a Siege series out there in New Jersey with you, meet you in person, and thank you personally for all the work that you've done to help grow this community. Um, and it's people like you that help spread the word and ultimately keep us pushing forward, right? So um, it's like the saying is, it takes a village to raise a family, right? So um, it's it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board with us, and I would hope to meet you in person one day. Be there to run an event, um, hopefully sooner rather than later, and we'll do that this year, whether that is before Empire's release or after. But either way, I'm sure that I'm sure we'll make that happen.
And
Yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome. You guys have done like a really good job with everything, and as far as
thanks.
like, basically like every aspect, like gameplay wise, balance, the community is just like awesome. Like I feel like like some communities like are like maybe not toxic, but not just like maybe not just like super welcoming like the Legions is, but like with the Legions, like I feel like I can just like talk to anyone and like um be talking to like a friendly person who can like you know either give me strategy with advice or like I can help them like very just like mutually like on good terms with like everyone in the community. And yeah, I would love to do like a siege series or like a big event and meet you guys in person. That'd be great. um yeah, hopefully this year once the new set comes out, it'll create more hype and more interest. Like I think the Kickstarter is really well done. Like I love that you can just get all this like free stuff. So like from a value perspective, it's great. From like us supporting a great company perspective, it's great. Like I just think it's like a really like a no-brainer to back this Kickstarter. Like I'm really excited for you guys, and I hope work out really well for you.
Well, then, definitely I appreciate that high praise case from start to finish. And speaking of that Kickstarter, we're going. If you're listening to this after March 6th, then we're already live. If this comes out before then, which I don't know if it will be, it'll probably be on or during the Kickstarter is live. Um, Make sure you back it. For those of you listening, we it's restructured, new goal, new tiers, and we're really giving back to the community as much as we can. The people who support us, we got excellent stretch goals. We had the Magic Void Hollow collection, the Twilight Gardens collection with new Twilight flowers, new Magic Void cards coming. Like I said, the new Bounty Hunter cards that are going to be hidden in those Kickstarter boxes. But also, if you're listening to this and it's still in the first 24 hours of the Kickstarter going live, we got a special early bird promotion for the first 24 hours. That's going to get you some amazing stuff. That's a one-time deal. So I know that a lot of our community will probably jump on that, case probably included. So for those of you listening, we appreciate all the support, and even if it's backing at one of the lower tiers, every little bit goes a long way. It takes the village to raise the family, right? So with that,
I think it's a good place to end it.
I think that's a good place to call her for today. We appreciate all of your time. We appreciate you giving us a listen, following us along the Legion's Lounge. And speaking of following us along, Matt, where can they find our podcasts as well as the previous podcasts and future ones?
So you can find the Legion's Lounge, both past and future episodes, on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and Stitcher. Basically anywhere where there's an audio platform service, we are there.
Awesome. That anything and everywhere that you want to listen to us, hear a bunch of guys or girls talk about card games and what it's like to be behind the scenes and bring community members in, like Case. Anything that you like to say to finish it up here, Case? We appreciate all your time and everything you put in for us so far.
Yeah, no, I just think that's it. I think you guys have done a great job, and I'm really looking forward to the future for you guys.
Well, we're really looking forward to having you on board with us and keeping that future strong and bright. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll get some more players and hopefully a big event out in New Jersey shortly.
And
That sounds great.
And with that, I think that's all for this episode. Have a good rest of your day, everyone.
Yep. See you on the next one, guys.
Bye, guys.